Baby cam is on silent. I'm filming this during my son's nap, so gotta capitalize on the time when it's quiet in the house. Baby cam's on silent. Laundry's in the corner right here that I need to get to at some point, but I'm really excited to share this video with you guys today, so I was like, I need to get this recorded. Today I'm going to talk about self-care. I know, don't leave the video just yet. I know that can be such a loaded term, just in general, and especially as young moms, it can feel so unattainable to even practice self-care. And there can also be a lot of confusing ideas about what self-care actually is. So today I am going to talk about some of the practicals of how can you integrate self-care into your routine as a young mom with baby. It is possible. I promise you it's possible. It's not going to look like what it did before you had a baby though. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I'm also going to zoom out and talk about how we can take a big picture approach to self-care, because self-care isn't just about us. It's not just about taking care of ourselves for ourselves. Obviously, that's a very important part of it, but it's also about taking into consideration what legacy do we want to leave for our kids, for our grandkids, for our great-grandkids surrounding health and wellness. Hi, I'm Heidi. Welcome to my channel, Nurturing Motherhood, a space for young moms to be encouraged amidst the demands of parenting young children. Take a minute and think about these questions. What beliefs and habits around health and wellness do you want your kids to have when they are older? What about your grandkids, your great-grandkids? What legacy do you want to leave for them? I know it can be hard amidst the busy days, even to think about the next day or even the next hour, especially when we're sleep deprived, feeling like there's a million things to do, but taking a moment to reflect on the big picture can really help you solidify your why when it comes to self-care. Whether we realize it or not, our kids are watching us. They're watching what we do, how we talk to ourselves. They're really paying attention. If you have a baby, yeah, they're not necessarily really understanding what you say and really paying attention to what you do, but as they get older, they are going to notice. And the things that they see us doing, the things that they notice that we value, those are going to impact them as they get older. And it will influence what they do, what habits they have, what values they have as they get older. Maybe when you think about health and wellness and for your kids and your grandkids, you're thinking about how that wasn't necessarily something that maybe was modeled to you when you were growing up. And that is totally okay. That's why we're having this conversation. Whatever was modeled to you growing up, whatever values were in your family of origin, maybe some of those you want to bring with you, some of those you don't. That's okay. What matters is that right here, right now, you have the opportunity to craft a culture in your home that will promote health and wellness for your kids and for future generations. Of course, there are genetic things that we have absolutely no control over, but things like moving our bodies in healthy ways, eating nourishing food, prioritizing rest, those are things that we can be intentional about. And the way we prioritize those things and model them to our kids will promote health for generations. I want us to see this as an opportunity, not an obligation. I know that in the midst of being a young mom and having so many demands, so many things to do, these little humans that need so much from us, I don't want this to be a message of feeling that, okay, there's just one more thing that I need to do. Self-care is gonna look different for you than it does for me, or from your friends that also have young children. All right, so you're on board, you're like, yes, I wanna leave a positive legacy for future generations. I wanna model that to my kids. I wanna promote health in my family that will continue through future generations in terms of mindset, habits, etc. But you're still thinking, how do I even make this happen? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. I have 4 tips that I'm going to share that will hopefully help you really identify your priorities and help you figure out ways to practically integrate self-care into your routine with a baby. The first one I've already alluded to, identify your self-care priorities. What self-care activities are important to you? Maybe it is you really want to go on a walk every day. That is really important. You want to get in that movement. Maybe there's a different kind of movement or exercise that you want to get in. Maybe it's a Zumba class. Maybe it's strength training, CrossFit, HIIT, whatever it is. Maybe you really want to carve out space for creative projects like painting or art or something, or crafts. There's no right or wrong answer. What matters is the things that are important to you. Because the fact of the matter is you're not going to have time and space for all the activities, all the self-care things that maybe you did before you had a baby. And that's okay. But that's why we're having this conversation and thinking about this question. what are your self-care priorities in this season as a young mom, because that will help you identify what matters most to you. Also, it may change from season to season. So this doesn't mean you have to identify what are my self-care priorities for the next 5 years. No, identify what are my self-care priorities for maybe the next 3 months, the next 6 months, and then you can reevaluate in future seasons. The second thing is to recognize and acknowledge that self-care is going to look different for you now than it did before you had a baby. And it's okay if that takes some time to process, some time to really acknowledge and accept, because it is, in a way, it's almost a little grieving process, because it's like, man, I just don't have as much time and space to do what I used to do. My third tip is find ways to bring your baby into your self-care activities. It can be really hard to find time without children to do some of these activities. So if you can, find ways to bring your kids into them. Of course, it's going to change how the activity feels, what it looks like, but even if you're bringing your baby along, you're still going to feel better than if you didn't do it at all. Now, maybe you're someone, it works for you to get up really early before your baby so that you have some time in the morning to do some of these things. Exercise, have some time to reflect, things like that. I personally have not found that works for me. I need my rest, and getting up at 5 a.m. just isn't feasible for me in this season. And so I do my workouts with my baby. It can get chaotic. I get interrupted. I'm not able to get as much in the zone, but I'm still able to do the workouts. And I also see it as an opportunity to model to my son taking care of my body in that way. You deserve to be healthy, to be well, to have rhythms that feed your soul, that help you feel your best self. So my fourth tip is find shortcuts for things you don't want to spend time and energy doing so that you have space for the things that do matter to you. So practical example, I did most of my grocery shopping in store before I had a baby. I almost exclusively do curbside pickup, because I have found that frees up so much of my time and energy to be able to do other things. So think about, what are things that you can cut back on, or things that you can find quote unquote shortcuts for, so that you do have the space for the things that you really want to do, so that you have the space for those self-care activities. So as we wrap up today's video, I'm going to share some reflection questions to help you think through what you want to prioritize regarding self-care and how that can look like for you in this unique season of your life. The first one is, what legacy do you want to leave around health and wellness for the generations that come after you? So your kids, your grandkids, great-grandkids. The second question is, what self-care activities do you want to prioritize in this season of your life? The third question is, those self-care activities you just identified, how can you do those with a baby? The last question is, what expectations might you have around what self-care should look like in this season of your life? And are those expectations realistic, or are they maybe something that needs to be adjusted? Was there something in this video that resonated with you? If so, mention it in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, feel free to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video.